Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to discuss the poem How Soon Hath Time. Now, this poem is written by John Milton, who is one of the great poets of English literature. He is known for his epics Paradise Lost and Paradise Gained. Now, this poem is a sonnet, uh, which which he which is believed to have written by Milton on his birthday, that is December 9th, 1631. Let's begin. Let's begin with the discussion of the poet. John Milton, born in 1608 and he died in 1674, was an English poet, polemicist, pamphleteer, and a civil servant during the Commonwealth era of England. A scholarly man of letters, Milton's prose and poetry deal with contemporary issues and reflect the religious flux and political upheaval of England of his time. He is best known for his epic poems Paradise Lost and Regained. Writing in English, Latin, Greek, and Italian, he achieved international fame, and his celebrated Areopagitica, published in 1644, written in condemnation of pre-publication censorship, is among history's most influential and impassioned defenses of freedom of speech and the press. He is regarded as one of the greatest English writers of all time. Now, this is the brief introduction about the poet. So, John Milton was an English poet. He was born in England. He's a famous poet. Polemicist means a person who debates on controversial subjects. Pamphleteer means he used to write pamphlets because back then there was not journalism was not in the way today it is. Back then pamphlets were written, so he used to write pamphlets, and he was a civil servant. He lived during Commonwealth era of England. That was the time when England had become republic. That is a time between before the death of Charles I. His poetry and prose mainly deal with contemporary issues. They talk about religious and political upheavals of his time. He wrote in English, he wrote in Latin, he wrote in Greek, as well as Italian. Now, John Milton is mainly famous for his uh, two epic poems, Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. These two are his masterpiece, and he also achieved international fame for publishing Areopagitica, which was published in 1644. Now, this was written in condemnation of pre-publication censorship. Now, even today, there are many books that are banned. They are censored even before the book is actually published. There are so many such incidents which are nothing but a curtail on the freedom of expression. So this was done by Milton back in 1644. So it is considered as one of the most influential and impassioned defenses of freedom of speech and press. Now let's come to the sonnet form. Um, the poem that is written by John Milton is actually in the form of sonnet. Sonnet is a poem of 14 line, which originated in Italy. And the picture you are seeing on the screen is of Petrarch, who actually popularized this form of poem. And later, no, he lived during 12th century, and it was in 16th century, English poets Sir Thomas Watt and Henry. Howard. Now, these two poets actually brought this form of poetry to England, and they started writing sonnets. And then later, Shakespeare, um, Shakespeare has written Spenser, Edmund Spenser, and many other Milton, and many other poets have written in the form of sonnet. But this form actually originated in Italy. Petrarchan sonnet, also known as Italian sonnet, originated in Italy, is a 14-line poem with a variable rhyme scheme. It was popularized by the Italian poet Francisco Petrarca and so named after him. It was brought to England by Sir Thomas Watt and Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey, in the 16th century. So the poem, this form of poetry originated in Italy. It's a 14-line poem, and it has a particular rhyme scheme. It was popularized, as I have told, by Petrarch, and it is named after him as a Petrarchan sonnet. And this was brought to England by Sir Thomas Watt and Henry Howard. The Petrarchan sonnet is divided in two sections: 8-line stanza called octave and 6-line stanza called sestet. Some sonnets end with a rhyming couplet. The sonnet usually reflects upon a single sentiment with a turn of thought in its sestet or from the ninth line. So, sonnet is a 14-line poem. Now, this 14-line poem can be further divided into two 8-line first 8 lines called as octave. That means then the final 6 lines are called sestet. And sometimes, in some sonnets, the sonnet ends with a rhyming couplet. Couplet means poem of 2 lines. And usually sonnet reflects on one theme or one sentiment, and the turn usually comes at the ninth line or in the second part, that is sestet. How Soon Hath Time is a Petrarchan sonnet, is believed to have been written by Milton on his birthday, that is 9th of December 1631. Milton begins the poem in a tone of frustration and despair at having lost 22 precious years without achieving anything noteworthy. But he comforts himself by turning to God. He will achieve what God wants him to, nothing more and nothing less. Sooner or later, with its symbolic language, the sonnet raises implicit questions to reader. As I've already discussed, Petrarchan sonnet is divided into two sections. Octave, which is the first 8 lines. Sestet is the final 6 lines. Now, this is not the sonnet you have. This is just an example. The first 8 lines are called octave. You can see on the screen, and the final 6 are is called sestet. So in total, 14 lines. There are two major forms of sonnet actually. One is Petrarchan, another one is Shakespeare. You can, if you're interested, you can learn these sonnet forms. Petrarchan is you can look at the difference. Petrarchan is clearly divided into 8 lines and 6 lines, and the twist happens at the ninth line, usually comes in the sestet. And then we have Shakespearean sonnet, which consists of 3 quatrains. Quatrains means a poem of 4 lines. So 4 threes are 12. 12 plus rhyming couplet. Couplet means a poem of 2. So 12 plus 2 is 14. That is the form of Shakespearean sonnet. But the one we are having is written in the form of Petrarchan sonnet. There's also another form called Spenserian. If you are interested, you can read it. Now coming to the poem, How Soon Hath Time? It is believed that it was written on Milton's birthday, that is 9th December 1631. The tone of the poem is of frustration and despair. He is lamenting the fact that he has lost 23 years and he has not achieved anything noteworthy. Remember, today Milton is considered as one of the greatest writers of all time, greatest English writers of all time. He has written Paradise Lost, which is an epic, which is a classic. There are many other works which are very famous. But at the time of 23, he has not achieved anything, and that he is lamenting. And what does he do? He comforts himself by turning to God. That he comforts himself by saying that he is going to achieve what God wants him to achieve. The language that is used is very symbolic, and it raises many questions in the mind of the reader. Now let's begin with the poem. How soon had time? How soon had time, the subtle thief of youth, stolen on his wing my 3 and 20 year? My hasting days fly on with full career, but my late spring no bud or blossom showeth. Perhaps my semblance might deceive the truth, that I to manhood am arrived so near, and inward ripeness doth much less appear, that some more timely happy spirits endureth. Now this is the octave. Now let me read the sestet, that is the final 6 lines. Yet be less or more, or soon or slow, it shall be still in strictest measure even to that same lot, however mean or high, toward which time leads me, and the will of heaven. All is, if I have grace to use it so, as ever in my great taskmaster's eye. Now let's begin discussing the first 2 lines. How soon hath time, the subtle thief of youth, stolen on his wing my 3 and 20th year. The first lines of the first 2 lines of the poem establishes the poem's initial concerns. The poet is 23 years old and he is reflecting on his life, and he is not satisfied with what he has accomplished, and he feels that time is passing by, time is actually flying by. uh, there is a sense of loss, as though time has deprived something, very vital or precious. uh, in this way, he is suggesting that he is measuring his own life in response to an external standard. He is looking around and he sees, people have of his age have achieved more than what he has done with his life. He feels that he should have done something important. He should have used his time wisely, but now time has robbed this opportunity. He has lost all the precious years. Remember, time and tide waits for none. Um, Time is very precious. It waits for none. It just passes. So we have to make use of the time while it is available. Now, in speaker's estimation, look how he is describing the time. The time is described as the thief of youth stolen on my wing. So, in his estimation, no, time is a malicious. It is active force that makes decisions and has intentions. Um, Time is described as a figure with wings, um, because time flies. Time is further, though speaker here, it is the time, who is described as the one who has stolen the youth from the poet, and he is feeling he is very unhappy with what he has done with his life. My hasting days fly on with full career, but my late spring no bud or bloom blossom showeth. So in the line 3 and 4, speaker clarifies his complaint with time. He begins by noting once again that uh, life or the time is actually flying. My hasting days fly. He describes their motion using um, um, the expression the full career. Uh, the career means here two things at once. Um the one which we are familiar with, the professional one, but it also carries one more meaning. It refers to the galloping charge that knights used to make during the match. Uh, during the Now the time is moving very fast, and he has not made anything. He has not achieved anything significant. My hasting days fly with full career, but my late spring no bud or blossom showeth. But he is in his late spring. That means he is almost on the verge of losing his youth, and he has produced no bud, and or no not any or not any flower. So the tone is very of the tone is of despair. He is not happy that he has not done anything of worth. Perhaps my semblance might deceive the truth that I to manhood am arrived so near, and inward ripeness doth much less appear, that much more timely happy spirits endureth. In these lines, lines from 5 to 8, the speaker expands. He describes about his anxieties. He's very anxious, already very anxious that he hasn't done anything. He's already losing. He is in his late spring. That is means he is almost losing his youth, and he has not done anything worthwhile. Instead of in these lines, instead of being concerned with his own accomplishments, he worries about the way he appears to others. He begins by discussing his physical appearance, that is semblance. Perhaps my semblance means his physical appearance. He hopes that he might deceive other people because he still looks young. Maybe they won't realize that he is so close to being man. And maybe as a result, they won't judge for his lack of uh, achievement. In line 6 and 7, the speaker returns to the central uh, metaphor um, that that is there is no bud, no silhouette means he has not he doesn't look very manly. uh, that I to manhood arrived so near, and inward ripeness does much less appear. So this inward ripeness does not count much, though, since no one can see it, and there are people who do not manage to complete significant projects, during their youth. Now, this is a crucial moment in the poem. The speaker is suggesting that value of his life depends on the work he produces rather than his plans, his personality, or any other things. This position might be understood to be sympathetic to the doctrines of Catholic Church, which stresses on salvation can be achieved through certain acts. Uh, So in this line, an inward ripeness doth much less appear, that some more timely happy spirits endureth. So the inner ripeness is cannot be seen. It does not be seen from the outside, and only few people um, who are both who are who will be young as well as who will be accomplished will be very less people. Only those will be able to accomplish uh, a lot during the time of youth. Now, as I've already mentioned, the turn actually takes place in the ninth line. That is the first line of the set. Two lines. There are two parts, octave and sestet. Now we are going to read